Hello, my name is Katie Morse, and today I'll be talking about my Project 2 user experience update. And for this, I'll be looking into Halo Recruit, which is a Microsoft VR game. I do have the link for the full gameplay of it, but for this presentation, I thought using GIFs in each slide would be better for me to go individually into what makes it great, what's the weaknesses, and what would I change about it. First things first, we need to understand what user experience is and why it's important. User experience is how the player feels when they play any type of game, and user interface is how they interact with the game. And why it's important is we want to be able to immerse the player and have the player have fun with the game. If something's messed up on user experience or user interface, it can make replayability very slim for the player. The player can feel like they get distracted or it doesn't flow right. So first thing I'm going to point out for Halo Recruit is the picking up the gun. So at the beginning, you have to pick up the gun before you go into like the shooter range. The good thing about this is they do highlight the gun. So if the player is looking around, they just look towards the gun and it's there. And but the bad part of it, it's blue. And if you watch the video, or you can kind of see in this GIF, a lot of the background is blue, so it easily blends in, sadly. Also, too, there's no motion to it to like kind of catch the player's eyes immediately. So what I would do to make this better is possibly make it white like this, so it still blends, so it still works with the environment that they have provided, but it's not really easily lost in the environment. Also, too, maybe have the particles move. It is nice to have like a holograph, but most of the environment is kind of holograph and it's easy to just kind of skim over it. The arrows do help though. Next, I'll be talking about immersion. So the blue bar on top, it is really good because this is a Halo game, so it kind of makes the player feel like they're actually wearing like a helmet and they're inside like a suit of armor. But the disadvantage of this is it just has a blue bar. There's nothing really to it. It does not cut through enemies though, which is a good thing, or it doesn't distract the enemy to the point, or player, it doesn't distract the player to the point where they can't shoot at things, but it doesn't really serve any other purpose than just looks. So also too, you notice in this corner there's a timer. So what I thought would make it better for the player is possibly add that timer right here, so the player doesn't have to like look up occasionally to like see like how much time they have when there's an enemy like down in this corner. Also to that, or they can put a this can be used as a progression bar, so the player knows how close they are to the end and what the progress is in this game. Another thing is effects. So when the player shoots, mainly during these challenges, so what happens is whenever they shoot one, the effects will come back into their face. It is a good thing. It kind of is satisfying to like let the player know, like feedback wise, when they are able to destroy something, it shatters. But the disadvantage of this is when there's too much of it, like you see in this GIF kind of towards the end, it can distract the player where they aim or where they should shoot, or it can get in the player's way. So what I would suggest to make it better is possibly add a sound for some of them, like a kind of a beat, not like a beat, but have a sound, and then on like the third or fourth shot, then have the effects happen, so the player doesn't get too distracted, but they still have that satisfying experience when they actually are able to hit a target. Next, I'll be talking about the shooting itself. So the target on the enemies does make it easier for the player to be able to shoot them. It doesn't like blend in, and I like how they use different color shades for the enemies. But when the player shoots, there's not really aiming system or like any like dot or anything. You do have this one dot that plays in the beginning, but that's because the player missed the target, which is nice, but the player doesn't really have a laser point or anything to help them aim towards it. And it is a score at the end that there is a score that's based on accuracy, but it's hard to have a higher accuracy or improve your accuracy if there's no point of aiming. So I would do is make a small laser off of the gun, nothing too distracting, maybe a little white beam or a little white dot. So when the player shoots at the enemies, it's a lot easier for them to aim. Also, too, another thing I would add is I do like how it is It's not too crazy motion, or not too many of them pop up at once. This help with motion sickness, but I do feel like some of the targets should be like a little smaller to add more of a challenge. So even though the enemies are not really moving, it still adds like the occasional challenge to the player, and it's not too easy. Next will be score, and this is my final point. So it's nice to let the player know how well they did. I do like how they have a ranking system, especially if you're a hardcore Halo fan. It's nice to see that you're closer to chief level or what rank you are in the game itself, and they do use the ranks from the game. But the disadvantage part is, as you can see, all these icons are exactly the same, but they're different things. So you have targets, you have grunts, jackals, and another enemy, and elites. And then you have your accuracy score and something else, but they kind of all blend together. It's very hard to differentiate between all of them. You can actually easily like misplace like how many you got. So what I thought would be better is if they had progressive bars kind of like this, but they had an icon at the end like of the target, or the grunt, like a grunt icon, and it can kind of show where they're at, or display a percentage instead. That would definitely help. Also too, that would help move stuff in versus like having some things like hanging out of the little screen. I do like how they bolded that though. But other than that, that is what I have for Halo Recruit, and I hope you enjoyed my project presentation.